welcome to SG Global News. From the approval of the canonization cause of a Venezuelan doctor who dedicated his life to caring for the sick, to the touching message of a young boy whose heartfelt prayer for Pope Francis has moved many, we have many stories to cover. Blessed Jose Gregorio Hernandez, also known as the Doctor of the Poor, is said to be canonized as the first saint of Venezuela. Jose, who dedicated his life to the caring for the sick, was beatified by Pope Francis following the recognition of a miracle attributed to him, the recovery of a young girl who had been shot in the head. Venezuela is about to have its first ever saint. Despite health challenges, the Holy Father has authorized decrees designating 5 individuals as servants of God and approved the canonization of Venezuelan Blessed Jose Gregorio Hernandez and the Italian Blessed Bartolo Longo. In an unusual move, Pope Francis has called a consistory for the canonizations. But who was Jose Gregorio Hernandez? Known as the Doctor of the Poor, this Venezuelan blessed dedicated his life to caring for the sick. He even died after being struck by a car on June 29, 1919, while crossing the street to buy medicine for an elderly woman. Born in October 26, 1864, in a small rural town in Istnotu in Trujillo State, Venezuela, he was in the eyes of Pope Francis a saint who preferred the wealth of gospel over monetary riches, spending his life helping those in need. After his death, Hernandez's reputation began to grow. Reports spread across the country of miracles occurring when his intercessions before God was sought. Over time, his name became well known throughout Latin America and Spain. Both doctors and patients often turned to him for healing, and he is also invoked for protection during overland travels. In 1986, the Vatican declared Hernandez venerable for his exemplary Christian life. In June 2020, Pope Francis approved the beatification of Jose Gregorio Hernandez following the recognition of a miracle attributed to him, the recovery of a girl who had been shot in the head. On April 30, 2021, he was beatified at the Church of La Salle School in Caracas. Pope Francis dedicated a catechesis to this layman and future saint during a general audience in September 2023, highlighting that charity was the North Star that guided his existence. The Pope also described him as a good and joyful person with a cheerful disposition, endowed with remarkable intelligence. Despite being in critical condition for the 4th consecutive day, the Pope continues to work. On the 12th day of his hospitalization, he met with 2 senior prelates, authorized the canonization of 2 blesseds, and conveyed his decision to call a consistory.
According to a press communique from the Holy See Press Office, the Pope's 12th night at the hospital passed uneventfully as he rested throughout the night. While the Pope's condition remains critical, it has remained stable throughout the day. Reports indicate that there have been no further acute respiratory episodes and his hemodynamic parameters continue to be stable. As part of routine monitoring for bilateral pneumonia, the Pope underwent a scheduled CT scan. However, the results were not disclosed to the public. After receiving the Eucharist in the morning, the Pope resumed his work activities. In a separate press release, the Vatican announced that he has decided to convene a consistory. The decision was communicated following an audience with Cardinal Secretary of State Pietro Parolin and Archbishop Edgar Pina Parra, substitute for General Affairs at the Secretariat of State. During the audience, the Pope also authorized the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints to promulgate decrees concerning the offering of life of servants of God Emil J. Capon and Salvador Quisto, the heroic virtues of servants of God Michael Mara y Montaner, Didaco Bessi, and Cunegunda Civich, and the canonization of Blessed Jose Gregorio Hernandez Cisneros and Bartolo Longo.
Cardinals, priests, religious and laity gathered at St. Peter's Square for the 2nd consecutive night to pray the Holy Rosary for Pope Francis. Last night's rosary was led by Cardinal Luis Tagle, a Filipino prelate serving as a pro-prefect for the section of First Evangelization in the Dicastery for Evangelization.
Senior Vatican official and Philippine Cardinal Luis Tagle held the 2nd nightly rosary at St. Peter's Square for the health of Pope Francis. The Pope was admitted to Agostino Gemelli Polyclinic Hospital in Rome on February 14th after experiencing respiratory distress. He was diagnosed with bronchitis and bilateral pneumonia. According to the Vatican's press communiques over the past 4 days, the Pope has remained in critical condition. Faithful across the globe have been praying for the Holy Father's recovery. On February 24th, the Holy See announced through a press office communique that cardinals residing in Rome, along with all collaborators of the Roman Curia and the Diocese of Rome, would gather at St. Peter's Square at 9 p.m. each night to pray for the Holy Father. The first evening's rosary was led by Cardinal Secretary of State Pietro Parolin. On February 25th, Cardinal Tagle led the rosary as hundreds of faithful, including pilgrims from as far as Brazil and the United States, joined in prayer. All eyes remain on the Vatican as the Pope's condition continues to be critical. Meanwhile, the faithful cling to prayer, entrusting everything to the will of God.
Israelis gathered at the Nuruz cemetery to bid their final goodbyes as the bodies of Shiri Bibas and her sons, Ariel and Kafir, were buried in accordance with Jewish ceremonies at 11:30 a.m. Even though the Bibas family requested a small and private burial ceremony, long lines formed near the Nuruz synagogue to see the slain trio, who have become the symbol of the ordeal faced by Israeli hostages held under Hamas captivity for a year and a half.
People across the country are lining up near the Nur-Oz synagogue to pay their respects to Shiri Bibas and her sons Kafir Bibas and Ariel Bibas, the mother and son trio who were brutally murdered during captivity by Hamas militants. The remaining members of the Bibas family who received their remains as part of an ongoing hostage exchange deal are preparing to say one last goodbye to their loved ones as the Nur-Oz kibbutz plans to bury the bodies in a Jewish ceremony. Although Shiri's husband Yarden Bibas and his sister stated last week that the funeral would only be for members of the family and close friends, thousands of mourners carrying flags and orange balloons have gathered near the Nur-Oz cemetery. The bodies, which have been transported in an Israeli defense convoy vehicle, are expected to reach Nur-Oz by 11 a.m. local time. The family plans to conduct private cremation ceremonies scheduled to begin at 11:30 a.m. Meanwhile, controversies surrounding the handover ceremony of the Bibas family's remains are mounting. Ofiri Bibas, in a public meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, expressed disappointment in the way her sisters' and nephews' bodies were handled and demanded swift action from Israel against the transgressors.
Pope Francis remains active even from his hospital bed. On Tuesday, he appointed Richard W. Smith as the next Archbishop of Vancouver. The Archbishop previously worked with Pope Francis when he served as a general coordinator of the papal visit to Canada in July 2022. Pope Francis has appointed Archbishop Richard W. Smith as the next Archbishop of Vancouver. The appointment follows the Pope's acceptance of Archbishop J. Michael Miller's resignation from pastoral governance. Archbishop Smith is expected to be installed in May. Archbishop Smith was ordained to priesthood on May 23, 1987 for the Archdiocese of Halifax. He earned a licentiate degree in 1993 and a doctorate in 1998 from the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome. Pope St. John Paul II appointed him Bishop of Pembroke in 2002. Archbishop Smith served as the general coordinator of Pope Francis' historic visit to Canada in July 2022. The Archdiocese of Vancouver has roughly 396,000 Catholics in 77 parishes, served by 103 diocesan priests. The Archdiocese has more than 80 organizations, 52 Catholic schools, 4 colleges, and 5 hospitals. The John Paul II Chapel at Gemelli Hospital hosts a daily holy hour of Eucharistic adoration. The Holy Father is receiving treatment for pneumonia and mild renal insufficiency just a few floors above where the relics of Saint Pope John Paul II are kept. A daily holy hour of Eucharistic adoration is being held in John Paul II Chapel at Gemelli Hospital in Rome, where Pope Francis has been admitted since February 14th. The 88-year-old pontiff is receiving treatment for pneumonia and early-stage kidney failure just a few floors above the chapel, which holds the relics of Saint Pope John Paul II. Holy Masses are also offered in the chapel following the holy hours. Father Nunzio Corraro, the chaplain of Gemelli Hospital, told Catholic News Agency that the midday hour of adoration was dedicated to praying for Pope Francis that the medical treatment he was taking become effective. While doctors and paramedical staffs drop in for Eucharistic adoration, religious and faithful alike continue to flock to Saint Pope John Paul II statue outside the hospital seeking his intercession. Gemelli Hospital is Rome's premier teaching hospital and Italy's second largest medical facility. For decades, the 10th floor where Pope Francis is under medical care has been a designated suite for papal medical emergencies. agencies. Saint Pope John Paul II was hospitalized here multiple times, including after an assassination attempt in 1981. As the whole world watches the pontiff's recovery, this young boy's heartfelt message soothes the public. He expresses his hope for Pope Francis' swift recovery, placing his trust in Jesus. In a video aired by a British television station, the boy speaks warmly of Holy Father, describing him as a kind man and a devoted Christian. The world is united in prayer for Pope Francis, who remains in critical but stable condition at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. Amid this difficult time, a heartwarming video of a young boy has touched the hearts of many. In a sweet clip aired by a British television station, the boy expresses his hopes for the Pope's recovery, saying, "I trust in Jesus." He goes on to describe the Pope as a really kind guy and notes he's just trying to be nice to people.
And he's just trying to be nice to people.
The boy continues, quote, "He's a good Christian and I hope he gets better soon," unquote. The video quickly gained more than 10,000 likes, with many viewers offering their support and prayers for the pontiff. Numerous people praised the innocence and sincerity of the young boy's words. Pope Francis is currently being treated for double pneumonia, and a health update released last week also mentioned that he is showing signs of mid-renal insufficiency, which appears to be under control. That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.